Block Island Southeast Light, standing 12 miles off the coast of Rhode Island, is an architectural marvel from the 19th century. Designated a historic landmark in 1997, it is celebrated as one of the finest lighthouses constructed by the US Lighthouse Board. But beyond its stately appearance lies a history steeped in tragedy and the supernatural, with two particularly chilling tales that continue to haunt the island and its visitors. I arrived on Block Island on a foggy autumn afternoon, the kind of day that felt perfect for exploring the island's storied past. The lighthouse, with its red brick facade and towering light, stood proudly against the gray sky, a sentinel over the turbulent waters that surrounded it. I was eager to uncover the truth behind the tales that had captured my imagination. The first story I heard was of the Palatine, also known as the Princess Augusta, a ghost ship said to sail the waters off the island's northernmost point. Legend has it that the ship wrecked centuries ago, and the souls of its departed sailors continue to haunt the coast aboard their phantom vessel. Locals spoke of seeing the ship's ghostly apparition on stormy nights, its spectral crew silently navigating the rough seas. The idea of a ghost ship was eerie, but it was the second tale that truly sent shivers down my spine. As I approached the lighthouse, the caretaker, an elderly man named Mr. Morgan, welcomed me with a knowing look. "You're here for the stories, aren't you?" he asked, his voice tinged with a mixture of amusement and caution. I nodded, eager to hear more. He led me inside and began to recount the tale of the lighthouse's most infamous ghost. In the 1800s, a lighthouse keeper, driven mad by isolation and jealousy, brutally murdered his wife within these very walls. Since then, her vengeful spirit has haunted the lighthouse, targeting men who dare to visit. Mr. Morgan spoke of visitors being shaken awake in the middle of the night, their beds lifted off the ground, and doors mysteriously locking behind them. As night fell, I settled into one of the lighthouse's guest rooms, determined to experience whatever the night had in store. The wind howled outside, and the sound of waves crashing against the rocks below created an eerie symphony. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing with thoughts of the ghostly woman and the phantom ship. Sometime after midnight, I was jolted awake by a violent shaking. My bed trembled as if caught in an earthquake, and a cold, oppressive presence filled the room. I tried to move, but it felt as though an invisible force held me down. The temperature plummeted, and my breath came out in frosty puffs. A faint, spectral light illuminated the corner of the room, revealing the translucent figure of a woman. Her eyes burned with a mixture of rage and sorrow, and her mouth moved soundlessly as she advanced toward me. I could feel her anger, a tangible force pressing down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. Just as I thought I could endure no more, the door to my room slammed shut, the sound echoing through the lighthouse. The ghostly woman paused, her gaze shifting to the door before she vanished, leaving the room suddenly warm and still. I lay there, gasping for breath, my heart pounding in my chest. The next morning I recounted my experience to Mr. Morgan. He listened with a grave expression, nodding thoughtfully. "You're not the first," he said quietly, "and you won't be the last. Her spirit is restless, bound to this place by the violence of her death. She seeks justice, or perhaps revenge, against any man who dares to intrude." As I left Block Island Southeast Light, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had encountered something far beyond my understanding. The lighthouse stood as a beacon of both safety and terror, its walls echoing with the memories of the past. Whether it was the ghost ship or the vengeful spirit, one thing was clear. Block Island was a place where the line between the living and the dead was perilously thin.